Let's start our meeting with our invocation. Mr. Cook, would you be willing to offer the invocation today?
Let us pray. Lord Jesus, we exalt you today. We bless your holy name, and we're just thankful to know that you're alive and that you're in charge and that nothing passes you, that you don't know what's going on. We ask you today that you would be with us, guide us with your spirit. Thank you for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that you would just grant us wisdom to be able to make the right decisions for this community, for our great county. Bless the commissioners and citizens and staff, and we'll always be grateful and give you the praise and honor because you're doing it. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Glide will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the meeting to order. We have all commissioners, all 5 in attendance. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have one addition under Commissioner Curry's tab and one deletion. That's item number 7 we have removed from the agenda.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda with the additions and deletions.
Motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Show it adopted or passed unanimously. Okay, is there anyone here in the general public that would like to speak that will not be here for the duration of the meeting? Seeing none. We want to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Johns.
I would like to remove items 11 and 12, just for discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Kellenberg, where do we want to put those?
Voted.
I mean,
No, I think
Mr. Kellenberger.
Chairman, I'd like to put those under Tourism's tab. We can do them before 25 or after 25. Your choice.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Curry, second by Commissioner Gladwell. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Show it pass. Show that done, 5-0. All right, so that brings us to item 15, citizens' request. Ms. Stephanie Hoffhines, Walton County School District.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Administrators, and Mr. Atkinson. My name is Stephanie Hoffhines, and I'm the CFO of the Walton County School District. I'm here on behalf of Superintendent Russell Hughes and the school board for the 3rd time in my career to request approval to place the half-meal referendum on the general election ballot on November 3rd, 2026. This referendum is a continuation of the 0.5 mil shift from the capital outlay millage to general operating millage and has been in place for 23 years. This is not a tax increase, which is a very important point to consider. These funds have been paramount to the success that we've had as a district since inception. I would like to share just a few of the accolades that we've accomplished by having these funds in place. Walton County School District is #1 in education, according to the Florida Policy Institute. We're ranked #2 in the state for school grades by the FLDOE. We're #2 in the state for grad rate. We rank #3 in state academic testing. And we've been a high-performing school district designated as an A+ school district for 9 years in a row, and all A and B schools for the 25-26 school year. Some things that we've been able to continue to focus on because of these funds being in place are a continued emphasis on school safety, to include placing more SROs in our schools and at events. We have fully staffed our schools at the beginning of each school year for the last several years. We recruit and retain high-quality educators and staff members. We've been able to expand CTE and extracurricular program offerings and provide instructional materials and supplemental programs to heighten the learning experience and prepare the whole child for a life of success. For the 25-26 fiscal year, the half meal is budgeted at just over $25 million. And if approved, we have and will continue to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. We sincerely appreciate your consideration as commissioners of Walton County, and thank you for your continued support. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffhines. Clay, would that be on the general election ballot, or is that a special election?
General election ballot this year. That's what you have to do this
Anderson, you got a
May.
question?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say, you guys are doing a great job. And I remember when our schools weren't that good. And I'd like to make a motion to.
I don't think your mic's on.
Yes, it's on.
Is it?
Yes, I can't help it if it's not loud enough. But I think that we would, it's about an inch from my face. I can do this. Is that better? I'm not doing that. I want to thank y'all, and I want to make a motion. We approve it.
Second.
So a motion by Commissioner Anderson, second by Commissioner Gladwell. Is there any discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it pass 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tab 16, Mr. Kellenberger.
Chairman, this is a request approval to advertise a solicitation for a firefighting well and appurtenances to be constructed at the Florida Power and Light Solar Farm property identified for future fire station. Research revealed that there had been some loose commitments made that we would explore putting in a well, firefighting well, and associated pieces and parts for the different firefighting agencies to use in the event we have a fire at the solar farm out there. So this is just for this solicitation. We'll bring this back to you when we receive proposals for final decision.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it pass 5-0.
Number 17, request to appoint a representative to the Panama City Bay County Airport and Industrial District, also known as Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport Authority. We have a seat on their board, and the current appointment runs out in June.
I'd like to nominate Chairman Drake.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Johns to appoint the chair as our representative on the Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport Authority, second by Commissioner Gladwell. Is there any discussion?
Do you want it?
I will do it. Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it pass 5-0. Tab 18, Engineering.
Afternoon, Chairman, Board. Chance Powell, Walton County Engineering. This is a request to approve to utilize contingency funds for the Mossy Head Health Department site work and utilities in the amount not to exceed $115,000. This work will be conducted by in-house crews. This is for materials only.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gladwell to approve, second by Commissioner Johns. Is there any discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Show it pass 5-0. Tab 19.
This is a request to authorize the chair to sign a utility easement with FPL at the Eagle Springs Golf Course and Rec Facility. This is to bring service to the new maintenance building there.
Motion to approve.
Excuse me.
Okay, we got a Commissioner Anderson, you're recognized.
Yeah, before you do that, I have a conflict of interest on this, and I filled the proper paperwork with the clerk, so I will not be voting on this.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Gladwell moves to approve and authorize chairman to sign the utility easement, seconded by Commissioner Johns. Any discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 4-0 with Commissioner Anderson abstaining.
Thank you.
Tab 20, Environmental Services.
Thomas Blanc, Environmental Services. Commissioners, this item is a request to approve the purchase of scale software and kiosk equipment in the amount of $40,714. Our current scale software is proprietary, so we are limited to using their kiosk, so we decided to review other software options and determined that ScaleSoft by BTech is a better fit for our operation, and it is more open to working with other systems. IT has reviewed and approved the software as well. At the end of the day, this purchase is really about replacing our current scale software, adding a self-service kiosk, and giving us a more reliable way to weigh transfer trailers without depending heavily on a scale that has been difficult to keep certified inside the transfer station.
Are there any questions?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
I think that one's going to be saving us money in the long run.
Good. I like that. All right, tab 21, Planning. Mr. Stephen Schoen, you are recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is a request to approve the purchase of approximately 1,015 square feet of the former building department office space at an amount not to exceed $94,638. This, if allowed, this would...
We're basically renting from ourselves. Is there any questions?
Essentially, yes. Thank you.
Motion approved.
Question by Commissioner Johns.
No, I just wanted to state that we have to do this because that building money can only be used for buildings, so we have to purchase it. That's why we're doing this for the planning department.
That's right.
To make it clear.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Gladwell, seconded by
I'll second it.
Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Randy, did you have anything?
Do it.
I was going to let it go because I'm a little bit confused, but, okay, so I get it. You're renting it, Randy Lightner, Lightner. You're renting it from yourself, but where does that money, when you pay for it, where does that money go and what is it used for?
Back to the building department, right?
So
It's just to provide, it's just to fall under the statutory requirements that those monies can only be spent for that purpose. So if we're going to use it in a different purpose, we would have to pay for it. So it'd just be a fund shift from one to the other.
Yeah, I'm still confused. I wasn't going to come up.
Let me
call that
try
my
briefly,
face.
Mr. Chair. Certain building department revenues, Ms. Leitner, can only be used for the construction and maintenance of the building department building itself.
Right.
This building was paid for out of those funds rather than general fund money. We are now no longer using it for a building department, and planning is going to be using it. That would be in violation of state law that says the money can only be used to have that building be for building department. So what we are doing is we are transferring money out of another pot of money, out of the general fund, so to speak, into the building department to pay them back for the money they expended on that building to make us statutorily compliant. No different than when the board has to pay back TDC money or vice versa. It's just a statutorily restricted account, and since this would no longer be compliant, this is how we make it compliant.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to go home and watch it again later. Maybe I'll understand it.
Is there a motion?
Yes. Motion and a second.
Motion by Commissioner Gladwell, seconded by Commissioner Curry.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0. Tab 22, Public Works. Mr. Scott Caraway, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. Request approval to award RFP 26-15 for online auction services to the highest ranked responsive proposer, Liquidity Services Operations LLC, doing business as GovDeals, and authorize the staff to begin contract negotiations.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. Is there any discussion, questions? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it pass 5-0.
Thank you.
Tab 23, Mr. Buddy Wright.
So 23, Public Works would like to make a request to approve the purchase of one 350, one F-150, one small street sweeper, and 3 utility traders. The money we're asking to use is in our machinery equipment budget. We've ordered all the equipment that y'all budgeted for us. We did realize some cost savings. So we've got this money. These are some pieces of equipment that didn't make the cut when we bought that initial round, but we feel like with this equipment, we can provide a better level of service to the community. And
Are there any questions?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. Any questions? Anyone from the public?
I just want to say that you need the tools to do your job, and this is going to do just that. So
yes, ma'am.
And this isn't
We'll put 'em in
additional
good use.
funding anywhere. This is stuff that
That's
you
right.
add. You're just,
Coming out of budgeted funding.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0.
Number 24 is a request to approve and authorize the chair to sign 3 special warranty deeds conveying property to Walton County for ingress egress for McDowell Street, 2 from John A. King Jr. and 1 from John A. King Sr. and Deborah King. So,
Well, hold on one second. The item, just for the record, says for the chairman to sign, it's a deed to us, so the chairman's not signing. So the actual motion would need to be a motion to accept the public dedication through the form of these deeds without accepting public maintenance.
As stated by the county attorney, is there a motion? Motion approved by, motion by Commissioner Gladwell, second by Commissioner Johns. Are there any questions, comments? Anyone from the public? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Show it passes 5-0. Do you have a comment, Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I just wanted to say that this is actually a very, very good thing, and the people of that community are happy to have that happen. And they understand that it's not the county maintaining the road, it's just the county taking the road over. So thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, let's pick up the 2 items, Commissioner Johns, that we removed from the consent agenda.
Yes, I think Josh and Matt are going to come up. I just wanted them to elaborate, thank you, elaborate on these 2 items because it's such a good thing that we're doing for the community, and to kind of put it on consent agenda, nobody gets to hear it. So if you don't mind, would you just elaborate on what we're doing?
Absolutely, Commissioner.
You're recognized to elaborate.
Thank you, sir. Matt Algerin for the record. So this program, as we've done for 8 years at Grayton and 12 years at Topsail, allows us an opportunity to promote the state parks and utilize the state parks for enhanced beach access during the 100 days of summer. Going back to before the legislative session, I sat down with Representative Abbott just to kind of talk about some items that were going to be in the legislature and pick his brain. And so, we got to talking about some of the opportunities we may see, and one of those was looking for opportunities to enhance beach access for our visitors and our residents. And we got to talking, and we decided that, with the launch of the tram service, there was really an opportunity to utilize the tram to drop off and pick up visitors and residents from Grayton Beach State Park and Topsail Preserve State Park. So he kind of took that and did a lot of legwork with the help of Commissioner Drake in Tallahassee to, see if this was something the state would be open to. And with the support of the state park system, we're excited to bring this to you all for an opportunity to enhance that access.
That's fantastic. So typically, the park gets full and people can't go, and now other people will be able to go and enjoy that beach area, even if the parking lot is full.
Correct.
So, thank you very much for all that work. And did you have anything, Josh, that you wanted to add?
No, I think Matt pretty well covered it. Josh Irvin, for the record, appreciate the leadership of Mr. Kellenberger for getting us here, and for the commission for resourcing us and providing us with the equipment to make this happen. We will have an express route that goes to Grayton State Park from our Grayton Municipal Parking Facility, providing that direct access. So we couldn't have done that without your leadership, and thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Gladwell?
Mr. Atkinson, can we do this with 1 motion, or we need 2?
Let's do it as 2 because we have 2 items.
I'll make a motion to approve the first one.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gladwell to authorize tab 11, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Are there any questions?
Got a question in the back.
Go ahead.
Sharon Grenay, resident in Defuniak, Walton County, and I go to the parks and everything. And I know that I have been to Grayton Beach when they closed it. They wouldn't even let bicyclists when we were having other people come in. Pull it down. Okay,
Where did you get her name?
Sharon Grenay. So
Spell your last name.
Grenet. I know she knows me. I talk a lot. But anyway, what I don't understand is I do like the parks, and I do like the people, and I think it's a great idea of having the trolley go through. But I don't understand why we don't let the tourists help us and pay the $5 or whatever it costs. There's things that we do need in this county, especially in the North End, which is the reason I'm here today. But it gets so crowded, and I just think that I buy the yearly pass every year. So the people that have the passes, and then you come in and the tourists are in there, and you can't, if you're not there by 9 o'clock, you can forget it. And I like I said, I am very happy about the other, but I just don't understand why we have to subsidize a tourist to go to our state park. But theirs too, if they live in Florida, I'd say if you're a Florida resident, you can get in for free, but if you're from any other state, you have a fee.
I'll take a crack at, well, Mr. Kellenberger, go ahead.
So we set this program up many years ago as an attempt to have more accessible beach. And indirectly, the tourists do pay for it because we pay for it with tourist development tax, which they pay when they come and stay at a short-term rental. With the help of these two gentlemen and Mr. Drake, Commissioner Drake and Representative Abbott, we loosened up a really big component, and that was being able to bus people into that park. And so now, it doesn't matter when they close their gate, when their parking lot's full, they're still going to let our buses in. So come enjoy the Grayton Beach parking lot and take a free ride down to the park.
Hello, Mark Douglas. Just a quick question on that. This sounds great for me, but I live near Grayton Beach Park, and when I've tried to go in on my bike before, they've turned me down saying it's full. So is that still the case? Can bikers go in still if it's full, but the buses can? I'm just curious.
No, I believe only our tram would be allowed to drop people off after the typical closure of the gate.
That's my question.
If we were to ask for additional accommodations, would we have to seek approval from Florida Department of Environmental Protections, Clay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we won't take that off the shelf. You brought up some good comments, and so we'll investigate what options we may have to make it a little more expansive. No promises, but we'll look into that. We have staff that can initiate that request. Okay. All right, so do we have a motion on tab 11?
Yes.
Moved by Commissioner Glidewell, second by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. Show it pass 5-0. Same for tab 12. We have motion by Commissioner Glidewell and seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Show it pass 5-0. All right, tab 13.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. We went back. All right, so tab 25.
Thank you, Chair. So what you have before you is a request approval to allocate $600,000 of North Walton Tourist Development Tax reserves towards the purchase of tractors for the proposed Walton County FAA Agriculture Center and Tractor Museum in Defuniak Springs. So this is a project that's kind of been in the works for many years, and we brought this before the Tourist Development Council at their last meeting, where they voted 7-0 to recommend bringing this forward to the board for you all to consider for approval. And I'm actually going to defer my time. Kim Falconer is here, and she would like to take a few moments just to offer you all a brief presentation to show you kind of what they're envisioning, if you will indulge, Chair.
Is there...
I'll make a motion to approve before the presentation.
That's your prerogative.
Motion to approve.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Glidewell to approve,
I'd like to second, but I'd like to see the presentation, if you wouldn't mind, Chair.
and seconded by Commissioner Curry. Does the board have any objections for the presentation? Okay. Let's, if you'll bring her forward.
Oh, I can see it here. Thank you all. I'll be quick. Kim Falconer, Falconer. With this presentation, I think what I really want to get across is this is not just about a tractor museum. The allocation of these funds will allow the purchase of these tractors to start moving forward, but it's going to jumpstart the tourism aspect of this project, youth education, as well as career development. North Walton lacks currently a destination anchor. We have the visitors here, but very few of them are coming north. You've got more than 5 million visitors coming into Walton County every year. Just getting 1% of them is going to bring more than 50,000 people here into the North Walton area. That is not an unrealistic number if you have something to attract them here. You don't need the demand, you need something as an anchor here. And your own consulting firm, JLL, recommended product over marketing in their recent presentation to the TDC to create something worth visiting here in North Walton. Agritourism, it's the fastest growing segment in the U.S. today, particularly in Florida with all of our agricultural businesses. It's experiential. People want to have experiences. They don't want to just go on a tour or see a presentation. They want to actually experience something. And with the agricultural elements that we have tied into this programming, it will allow that. Families want education. Again, this project will allow that. And we have the foundation already here in North Walton. The pieces of the puzzle are here. They just need to be put together. Every time I turn around, there's a new business opening that has to do with agritourism. Just this morning, I saw on Facebook, there's a farm that's opened up. It's got luxury tent camping, that type of thing in North Walton, and you go and you pet and hang out with shaggy cows all week. It's a national trend. We've got things like the farms like Frost Lane Farm, Breathe Easy, the market downtown in Defuniak. All of this tied together with the thought that the Tractor Museum, the Ag Center, will be the anchor for all of these. How does that work? People come for the Tractor Museum, the Ag Center, the educational aspect of that. They go visit a farm, Frost Lane Farms, with their educational programming, their farm tours, downtown for restaurants, the lake, the circle, the Victorian homes, that type of thing. It's creating a day trip for these people that are going to the beach, and not everybody wants to go to the beach every day. Again, think about it, just 1% being able to participate in something like this. And I mentioned earlier, it's not just a museum. This is a project that is about youth. The FFA is involved. The core program will be put forth by the FFA. It's in partnership with Walton County Schools. Superintendent Russell Hughes is also supportive of this and working to put together the programming. So you're getting tourism, you're getting education, and you're getting career development all in one package with this. Over 400 FFA students currently annually here in Walton County. The state of Florida, almost 65,000, if not more. That grew from 30,000 in 2023 because Governor DeSantis has an initiative. He put $1.25 million into this program to expand FFA programming, expand education. This project, is it approved and we can move forward with it, supports Governor DeSantis' initiative directly. How does it operate? The county will not be in charge of operation or administration. There will be no money needed from the county to do that. This is a nonprofit setup. This is the way it's done statewide. Very successful programs, very similar to this in almost every county of the state. There are 35 that are very successful, some with smaller museums, some with just the Ag Center component. Funding, that's been a question that's been asked in every presentation I've done with this or in speaking with people. The funding comes after we can get the tractor museum going, the facility started. There are currently, and I don't know who they are because we're not allowed to say, but there are currently 2 large corporations interested in funding this program once it gets started. But we've got to get that collection started. We have to get the buildings built. Then they're going to provide the sponsorship and the funding for that. And this is the way it's done. This is not something new. This is the way all the ag centers around the state handle their funding and their operations. Why does the county need to support this? Tourism. JLL said, again, we need to get tourism going here. We need product. So this will jumpstart the tourism aspect of that. That is where the money's coming from the TDC, and it's going directly towards the tractor purchase in order to jumpstart that tourism aspect of this project. And the model works. This is not just in Florida, this is all over the country. There are several tractor museums around the country, some very large like John Deere. Obviously that would probably be successful, but also much smaller. It was mentioned at a meeting here recently about the Leesburg Tractor Museum, and I want to clarify something. The Leesburg Tractor Museum was extremely successful. They did very little marketing, very little advertising. They had over 10,000 visitors annually. That was an owner-operated facility. When he died in 2018, there was no one to operate it, and that is the reason that museum closed. It did not close for lack of support. So to finalize, and I'm just going to let Alicia, she's with the FFA, she's the advisor for Walton County here, she's going to speak just to that point for about 1.5 minutes. But what you have tourism, you have education, and you have workforce development in this one project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Alicia Kuhn. I'm the FFA advisor at Pleasant Ridge Christian Academy here in Defuniak Springs. I just wanted to say, if you're not familiar with the FFA or you don't know, yours truly is a product of the FFA. My life was just dramatically changed by being a part of the FFA organization. It's been an established organization for 98 years. They have a long history of raising leaders, raising career-oriented young people, and strong adults when they enter to the workplace. And so I'm a product of that, and I can tell you that without that organization as a foundation of which I had when I was in high school, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm a licensed professional. I'm a landscape architect here in the county. I also am basically an adjunct teacher at the Pleasant Ridge Christian Academy. Obviously the FFA became something that I was very passionate about and wanted to do. So I just wanted to let you know that you are not just affecting one child, you're affecting many children. And if you're looking for an opportunity where you can make an impact on children for a lifetime, here I am, 45 years old, and I'm still a part of the organization and still doing everything I can to further the organization and education, agriculture education. And so if you're looking for an opportunity to make an impact, here's your opportunity. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Chair.
I have one tiny last thing. In the last BCC meeting, it was brought up about a federal program through the USDA to possibly help fund this. Yes, that is something that would help this program, but not until it's operational. I looked it up. I spoke with Scott Brannon about it. It requires that it be in operation and you show revenue before you get that loan. It's a loan and not a grant. Most of the grants federally also, you need to show that it be in operation, and it's for facility development and construction. It's not for equipment like tractor.
Commissioner Curry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add just a little bit to this. You know, I think we got to, and I talked to JJ, I guess that's his name, from the other day. I sat through his presentation twice, and I even asked him a question at the luncheon with the same thing about, why would you want to go in on marketing something when you haven't defined yourself at that north end? And I think by bringing this is just a small piece in my mind, looking at a big picture. You can, I foresee a rodeo, equestrian center, have an FFA take about 10 acres maybe and plant their own crops and then sell them, and then the leftovers go to, some food pantries and stuff like that, and just keep that rotating every year. I mean, I see a larger picture than just a tractor museum. And just to kind of piggyback on what Matt said, this is tourist development funding. If before we got to this point, we were going to spend $600,000 on marketing, and we haven't defined ourselves yet to start that mechanism in marketing. I think once we define ourselves in the North End and what we want to put there, then I have no problem with the marketing and all that. But you got to have, something. The South End has beaches. Right? North End, there ain't no beaches, as far as I know. And if we did, they're all dried up after the last couple of weeks. But I just think this is a very positive first move into getting this big picture. Let's not drill down on one little piece of the pie. Let's look at the pie in general and see what that pie in general is going to bring. How many people are going to come to the table to eat that entire pie instead of, I'm not going to go to that tractor museum. I'm not. But if you have a conglomerate of everything in that complex, I think it's a positive thing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. My question is if once we spend the money for the purchase, are those our tractors? Are we taking possession of those?
Well, the price is 1.5, so we're only putting in 6, I believe, right now. So what would that get us?
It's my understanding, if I'm remembering correctly, that the FFA would own the tractors.
Is that what your understanding is?
No, well, I didn't have an understanding.
Oh.
That's what I want to make sure. I want to make sure that what we're doing is that if we as the board decide to spend monies at the board's discretion, are we going to immediately relinquish control to a non-county, take it out of the county's possession? I think that could potentially present some problems. Do we want to stipulate that those are our tractors, and then that's what we're going to provide the oversight and the guidance over that, or what's the intent, Commissioner Gladwell?
Ms. Falconer, what's the intent?
Well, she's saying that it's going to a not-for-profit. Is that
the FFA would own and operate the tractors and the museum, which solved a problem that was brought up here, that the county did not want to deal with the administration, the operation of the facility or the museum because of the expense and the staffing for that. I believe Mr. Kellenberger brought that up in a meeting recently.
We're not talking about that. We're
talking about the ownership of the tractors.
Would the devil be in the details, Mr. Atkinson?
Well, the short answer is, if the county wants to own the tractors, you need to make that a condition. If you don't, as it was presented to the TDC, and as I sat through that meeting, the caveat here is this is funding that would go to acquiring, constructing, extending, enlarging, remodeling, repairing, improving, maintaining, operating, or promoting a museum that is owned or operated by a not-for-profit organization and open to the public. So the funding agreement they would need to execute, and obviously if you approve this today, Melissa's going to come back with her actual budget amendment at the next meeting, and we would have the funding agreement executed before the money would release from the TDC. That would indicate that these will be placed in a museum in Walton County that is open to the public and is owned and operated by them as a not-for-profit. That is the TDC funding requirement. If what you want to do is buy the tractors, they're still going to have to do that part unless you want to make a publicly owned and operated museum. So it's up to you on that point. But that is what my contemplation was, that we were falling under the creation and the basically the construction and the acquisition of the pieces to go into that museum, that they would be owned, operated, and open to the public.
Commissioner Drake, would it be your desire to see us on the tractors? If that's what you want, I'll change the motion.
Well, what I want to do is make sure that we're not cut out of the terms. Like if we have if whatever we're building around this, we have desire to utilize or to be able to offer as something that is of a public benefit, do we have to run that through someone else, or do we have autonomy over that? I just don't want to get into a place where we relinquish, like for instance, like with what happened in the past with some of the other state and county monies that were used for a community center, and then once we relinquished the monies, we had no control over the utilization of the property. So my question is, should we have some operational ownership in that?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I have no problem with a nonprofit operating the museum. But I think with the TDT putting out the $600,000, I would be more comfortable if we at least owned the tractors.
You want to put that in your motion?
I'll change the motion to that.
Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Glidewell to allocate the $600,000 of the North Walton Tourist Development Tax reserves toward the purchase of the tractors for the proposed museum, with the county maintaining ownership of the tractors. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Johns, you have a question?
Yes. First of all, Florida Statute 125.0104 strictly limits the TDT revenues to a short list of authorized purposes, primarily tourism, promotion, advertising, and qualifying public or nonprofit museums open to the public. This museum is not built yet. My question is, if we buy one person's tractors, then do they hold them until this building is built? Who's going to build the building? You know, also, it's my understanding that that $600,000 was previously approved by that same board to go into marketing, not into buying tractors. And my concern is if we go and spend $600,000 to buy tractors or to help you purchase tractors that we don't own, we're giving you $600,000 for tractors, what's going to stop anybody else from coming to us wanting us to pay for their RVs for their RV park or whatever else they might want to do to bring more visitors onto the north end?
I think you're touching on my concern.
Yes.
But the motion was changed to keep ownership with the county. So that alleviates, the county.
That addresses your.
But I don't know that we can spend TDT money for that. According to the statute, I don't believe that we can legally do that. We have to go through the Department of Revenue and make sure that it's okay. I don't think that we can legally just buy those tractors.
Well, that's what I read was the statute you referenced, 125.0104 sub 5 sub A sub 1. It does include the language to acquire, extend, a large, remodel, repair, improve, maintain, operate, or promote, as well as also to construct. So because that falls under that, and then the museums falls under sub C of that, as long as it is as long as it's owned and operated by a not-for-profit, the museum, which would include its contents, and it is open to the public, that's the case. Our funding agreement would require, and I would necessarily indicate in an agreement, that if the TDT money is being used, that money is being used and they want to spend it to purchase these tractors. If they fail to continue to operate or keep it open to the public, that the county would expect the tractors to revert to them. It's a standard reverter clause if they're not going to do what they said, because then it will fall outside of the statute. That was my contemplation. Merely, do I think we can buy them? If we are going to buy them, the question becomes, are we going to buy them to put them in a museum We have to have those details. So can we do it? Yes, we can do it either way. It's just a matter of what documentation we support it with.
But the problem is, right now, we don't have any documentation. The only thing on this agenda is a list of the tractors. There's no verbiage that states exactly how this is going to work, and I don't feel comfortable approving anything that doesn't give us some firm
So as I
indications on what this is going to be going to.
understood, so as Melissa and I noted,
And I agree. That's why I think this is a piecemealed process. This is the first, I guess, attempt to secure,
This is about the sixth attempt.
what I'm saying formally.
you have a request from the TDC where they have recommended approving $600,000 North Walton Tourist Development tax reserves towards the purchase of this. If the motion passes, all you have done is allocate it. Now, what you're allocating it for, that's what y'all are talking about. What we would do as staff in turn is the funding agreement with the TDC, and then Melissa, by the way, we can't even move the money forward without a separate motion as part of a budget process that comes back at another meeting. So if you agree to allocate it, because remember, this was presented originally with the TDT was going to be allocated to marketing, as you noted. That came before the BCC to consider that. It's sent back to the TDC to look at it again. They changed their wish and they presented it to you. The only reason you're seeing this before we prepare all those documents is, frankly, this has been before the board now too, and this is the third time to discuss what to do with this exact pot of money. So rather than us bring you a bunch of documents that are finalizing something, we wanted the board to tell us this is what you want to do, or do you want something else? So that's why it's being presented in this
I have a few
fashion.
ideas on what they could market. They could market RV parks. They could market Morrison Springs. They could market fishing. They can market several things on the north end. And I think that that's what that money is for, is to go out there and market that information. That's what it's for, and that's in line with the statute.
Chair, I have something.
Can I ask her?
But let me just say, I think the FFA is fantastic, honestly. I think it's fantastic. I think what you're doing is fantastic. I just don't think it's the board's place to buy these tractors. That's just my position.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes, I just wanted to, number one, $600,000 is not going to buy these tractors. There's another $900,000 out there that this entity has to go to the private sector to try and get that money. So that's why I was asking for the devil in the details. Is there anything written already that says, hey, you don't even get a penny of this until you guys have your end of the bargain? And then how can we have ownership of the entire collection if we're only putting in, 40%, 45%? So
that would be up to their organization to agree to give us the ownership. If the board's saying the only way they're giving the money is the 600 is to get ownership, that's the case. Again, the written documentation you're referring to is what will be brought back to you. If you vote today to allocate the money, and again, this is an allocation request, if that happens, there are at least 2 more events that have to occur before anything even gets set up to releasing the money. One is the specific funding agreement. 2 is the actual move forward of the money from reserves. One is procedural, the other is the substantive aspect. But I can tell you right now, as it was presented to the TDC, the question was very clear back then as well. Do you have the money? The answer is no, we're going to raise it. Well, the position, whenever the government gives money, not unlike y'all see with Triumph Gulf Coast, is by allocating the money, all you're doing is letting them go out and make the representation. We've got $600,000 of county money. We need to raise the other $900,000. But we're the last dollar in. Unless they come to us with $900,000, there's not going to be, or however much the actual purchase price is, there's not going to be one dime go out to them because it's going to be the last dollar in to make the closing happen.
May have part 2 on that. Thank you for explaining that. That last sentence was good. But I heard up here too that we, the concern is not having, I guess, ownership or anything with this kind of money. I mean, there's other entities that we consistently and constantly give money to that we don't have control over or have ownership over. So, I mean, I'm just kind of confused at that we're using that as a barometer or a wedge when, I mean, we give the EDA $400-something a year. We give nonprofits last year $400-something a year. We don't own anything in those 2 entities. We're giving the nonprofits that money for them to control. So I don't know, I'm just a little confused on this because I'm looking at the big picture. I mean, I think the North End needs something like this, so thank you.
I would just like to just say, the reason why there's been a struggle the whole time, this whole process of trying to raise the money to purchase the tractors, is because we need somebody to be the engine on the train. We've got lots of people that are willing to be boxcars and a caboose, and we need somebody to be the engine on this train. And I think this is an opportunity for the commission to be the engine. And I agree that if for whatever reason the boxcars don't get in line and then there's nobody at the caboose to get on the train, then fine. Then you guys can recede your position as the engine of this train. And I think that's a wise decision to make with the county's money. Say you're in so that we can tell everybody that you guys are in and we have this money allocated. And then in the event that we don't do the rest or the rest doesn't come along and we don't have the rest of the parts, then you guys could recede. If that's legally possible for you guys to do.
I think that's the posture that Commissioner Gladwell has now put us in. So, Commissioner Gladwell?
Just to be clear,
Yes.
best case scenario, the tractors get bought, the building gets built. Y'all are going to do the operational part of this. You're going to provide the staffing, whether it's volunteers, kids, or what, you're going to provide the staffing.
Yes.
You're going to maintain the organization, and this is going to be y'all.
Yes.
So, well, no matter who owns the tractors,
Right.
it don't matter as long as they're in that museum and y'all are providing the staffing.
And I believe that
All we're doing today is basically guaranteeing the first 600. The county could come back and provide the rest of it if we chose.
Absolutely.
Y'all could get 2 corporations.
We feel very confident we can raise the rest of the money. We just kind of need, like I said,
All we're doing today is providing the first money.
Right.
And then we'll work on the rest of it, and we will provide the engine to work on the rest of it.
And that's all we need.
We have been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Either we do it or we don't.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone from the public?
Your motion wasn't changed at all, was it?
No.
I'm sorry, it was. What was the motion? Because I seconded it.
No, Commissioner Anderson.
Oh, okay, good, thank you, thank you.
All right, who all is planning to speak on this? Raise your hand. Okay. Randy?
Randy Lightner, Lightner. I think there's one thing that may have been forgotten, or I may be confused, but it's my understanding that when these tractors are purchased, it's going to be with the stipulation they can never be sold or they go back to the family. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, in the North End,
We can remove that reverter clause, correct?
At Morrison Springs, you already have to get in line at 6 a.m. We don't want any more RV parks all over the place in the North End. We got enough crackheads here. Put that in Miramar Beach if you want it. And most importantly, before you determine what the North End needs, learn the difference in Mossy Head and Argyle. So now on to, Ms. Falconer mentioned some farms. The Peach Shed is another one that opens once a month. Hundreds of people are there as soon as they open. Hundreds. And they have cows across the street. Some of the people have to stay over there because all the kids are wanting to go over and pet the cows and all this. I mean, nobody trusts the food. We buy cows, we buy pigs, we buy as much fresh produce as we can. That's going to be something that will be there, an open-air farmer's market, from my understanding. I would stop 5 days a week for that, and I think that most people would. And as far as getting the beach crowd here, I think one thing we have to remember, that what I see is more of the people within 2, 3, 4 hours from here that just want a weekend trip. This fits in line with that, to come the small town vibe. You go stay at the Sunbright Manor Friday night, farmer's market Saturday morning, circle the lake and look at the houses. Now there's nothing to do till 7 o'clock at night when Tim Jackson and the Storytellers starts up. This is something to do. This is what the North End wants. We are not the South End. We don't want RV parks. We don't want a bigger line at Morrison Springs. Y'all have already taken care of that. We can't go to Morrison Springs anymore. We just live here. So even if you don't do the tractors, I hope that some of this money, at least you decide to put it to the Ag Center. But I think the tractors are a good idea. I understand if you don't do the tractors, but I hope if you don't, you will at least go back and reconsider ways to help the Ag Center in some way with this money.
Thank you, Ms. Leitner.
Sharon Grenade, Grenet. I worked with the Walton County Heritage Museum for 15 years when I moved here from Jacksonville. I can tell you going across 10, people will stop at things that aren't going down to our beaches. We get so many people, if you come and look at our registration in the museum, from what states and what countries people are coming through. They all don't want to go to the beach, but they would stop. We had a meeting, we have quarterly meetings, and once a year we take people out. When we had the museum meeting where we could see the tractors, there was over 100 people that showed up to see the tractors. I'm from Jacksonville. I have never been on a tractor in my life still. It was amazing. And I would take, as a resident here now, I would take people that came. We had friends that come from Indiana to see us, and 3 of the ladies told us they were here for Chautauqua. If I could tell my husband there was a tractor museum here from Indiana, I could get him to the beach. I could get him to Defuniak. So there are people in other places that would come here and see this. These tractors are worth $5 million. How much do y'all spend letting tourists in the beaches in a season? I don't know.
60 million.
Okay, so this is $60 million if you're giving them that.
They don't give it to them, they bring it a lot.
So whatever the cost of that is, think about that you're giving the North End part of that money. These things go into the FAA. If you buy, you would have to buy the museum, buy the tractors for the museum for $1.5 million, which I think Dr. Shepard was amazing to even give us the opportunity. And
I'd just like to correct, this $600,000, this money was collected in the North End. This has nothing to do with anybody but North Walton.
But you're a tourist.
This is our money.
Right, but you're the Walton County Tourism, Walton County Board of Commissioners. You should care about the people that live up here too. Like I said, I just spent a week down there at Topsail. I love going down to the beach. And we're putting our money in too. You may say that we're here, but a lot of people at this north end of this county spend money down there. And for y'all investing, maybe we would feel better about the whole county commissioners if y'all thought about us a little bit.
Who's next?
Hello, my name is Summer Adams. I'm a native of Defuniak Springs and Walton County. My husband's family has been farming in North Walton for over 100 years. We took over the farm in 2020. We knew then that to make it here, you had to go with agritourism, everyone is, but we're leaning more towards agri-education, and we've combined the two. And so we have schools come out every Monday. I have a school that comes out, and we put them on fence rows and on tractors and working the cows, and they get to see things they've never seen. Then during persimmon season, we have the largest persimmon orchard in the state of Florida. We open up our doors and we average around 300 to 400 people every weekend. We're open 7 days a week. People come from all over. I do have to say, like asking what you get for the $600,000, do you own it? Well, that money was going to go into billboards. Do you own that billboard? Do you own those newspapers? No, what we need is to give not only to a reason to have tourism here, but you're giving to the kids, you're giving to the community. It's more than just getting people to come here. But you know, there's a lot of naysayers, and I've read all of this, and it's big on my heart, but people want to say, are they going to come from the beach for one day? Well, the tourist development, it's all about heads in the beds, right? Well, no, so we're on I-10. If you're going to Disney World, if y'all have ever traveled with kids, you look for a stopping point that has something cool. So forget the ones on the beach. I'm talking about the people that are going through I-10 and they see this tractor museum. They're going to stay here because of that. So if the people come from the beach during the day, that's great, but we want money, right? That's what we're after. So people, this will be a stopping point. You bring in rodeos, the bigger picture. Let's just dream for a second, because when whenever you start bringing horse trailers in, whenever you have FFA holding their conventions here, you are bringing people here. This is an investment, just like a newspaper or billboard is. We can throw it into the wind, or we can put a foundation right here. Bradenton County just bought 2 years ago a 40-acre farm for $13.2 million because they honored what was there, and that's the last of it. So you have a chance to be a part of it. No, I personally do not think that you should own it. I don't. I think that it should stay part of FFA, but FFA is Walton County. So it is Walton County. You are being a part of Walton County. You are helping our children, and you are helping an education. You know, we go down to Seaside, we work around 5 farmers markets a weekend, and seeing the adults that don't know that onions grow in the ground, that they have roots on them, is astonishing. Or the kids that come out, we open up, like last October, we had 30 different schools come out. And so those kids come and they get to get their hands dirty. They've never seen a cow, and they live in Niceville. We are giving something to the community, and if y'all don't do it, the next county will. This is brilliant. Whenever I first saw that video, I thought this is a no-brainer. I cannot believe 6 years later we're here. That's all.
Thank you. Who's next?
John Howard, Walton County. I think the tractors are a good idea, but I think control is very important. There's been many times that I've seen over the last 10, 12 years where something happens and the intention of this day gets changed. There is no issue with owning the tractors, providing them rent-free where they take over the maintenance, but you do not allow it where that somebody could sell them or lose that, where you have that control. So not that you're trying to make anything on the tractors, you sell the tractors, but it's a control over that asset. And you don't want to give away that ability of controlling the use of that as assets. Yes, it should be provided. Yes, they provide the maintenance. Yes, they have full use of it. But you want to be able to control to make sure that it's there for my grandkids where they can come out and do it, and that somebody doesn't just say, well, we're going to cut back on this and we're going to go ahead and sell this tractor because it's worth a whole bunch because we want it to use to fund other items. So not just an agreement, but I think that control and ownership is important, but that they get full usage of that because those people are going to come in because of it, but don't give up control.
Ms. Morano, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. Commissioners, I was at the first TDC meeting before even the idea of tractors came up. They talked about spending either $600,000 or $800,000 in marketing for North Walton in the reserves. I was the only one, of course, I'm usually the only citizen usually there, who spoke against spending the money in marketing. And if they did that, we wouldn't even be here today. That would just be in the magazine, or as the young lady said, on a billboard, or in Gun and Roses, or whatever that magazine is. It would be gone. And I got up and I said, what about Defuniak Springs? And at that time, they were talking about an amphitheater. I had no idea that Mr. Johnson was even probably listening, that he thought, hey, let this go towards the Tractor Museum. When it was first brought up, it was $3 million. I probably stood here and said, don't do it. But now it's $1.5 million. And what you're having before you is using marketing money to buy something that will bring in tourism dollars. You all listened to JLL and his strategic plan. And I think you all agreed we needed to do something more than what we're doing right now. There are bed tax collectors in North Walton that own RV parks that are 100% for this to go on. But I do not see you owning the tractors at all. And how can you even think of owning it when you're just putting a marketing fee in there of $600,000? This has gone haywire, to tell you the truth. From the first time I stood up to the next meeting, to the next meeting, and here we are again, and we're still debating something. This is not rocket science. Now, I think I saw on the agenda, it said purchase the tractors. You really are not purchasing the tractors. I think we have to go with Mr. Atkinson's way of what was decided at that TDC council. They voted 7-0. They went from 6-0 against it. Then they really listened to themselves and listened to a presentation, and it completely turned around. This is something we need, and I'm not sure of the motion. I don't think you should own it. How can you own it at $600,000? I think Mr. Atkinson can explain it again to us. Sometimes I feel like Randy. I don't know what's going on. But I believe what Mr. Atkinson said is really what that motion should be. So thank you.
He stated it was the allocation.
Just the allocation. And that's what I think we should do. Thank you. And please just remember that $600,000 would have been gone if we didn't bring it back today. Thank you.
Can we repeat the current motion? I apologize.
Madam Clerk, would you be so kind?
It's to approve the allocation
Of $600,000.
by owning the tractors.
Yes. Mr. Bagby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is one of the things that just completely frustrates the folks of this county is what's happening in this right here. TDC recommended you spend $600,000. You could, and as Mr. Atkinson correctly pointed out, it's a proper, a legal use of the North Walton TDT, so that shouldn't be a problem. Number two, this is the allocation. So what that means is every one of your concerns, what you should be doing is directing staff, A, voting to approve the allocation, B, directing staff to bring you back a funding agreement, and that's where you list all your concerns. We want a reverter clause that if for any reason these tractors are ever sold, we recoup our $600,000 first. We want, if the museum is not built, then we get our $600,000 back. If the museum is not open to the public, then we get our money back. But not saying we want to own, you don't get to buy a $1.5 million anything with $600,000 in and say, but we want ownership of it. If you want ownership of it, pony up the $1.5 million, and I'm sure you could have ownership, but I don't think you should do that. I think you should do exactly what the TDC asked you to do, what's being recommended by the staff, what's being recommended by the FFA, and I say that as a former FFA member, so I may be a little biased. These are good people. Let them give them the opportunity to do what they want to do. They just want you to be, as Alicia said, the engine. So they can go to other donors and say, look, we have a $600,000 commitment from the Board of County Commissioners. Will you give us 10 or 5 or 500 or $5 or 50,000, whatever?
They can still do that.
They still can. And they will have to if you're only in for 600,000. But to say you only want to own it, you don't get to own it. You don't get to own anything in this world for 600,000. Now, you might negotiate that, but I would say make the motion to approve the allocation, direct the staff to include clauses within whatever funding agreement you're having brought back to you, and then if the FFA or the family or other members of the funding group have a problem with that, they can come back to you. But you shouldn't make, as part of your motion, ownership of these tractors. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Anyone else after Mr. Herring?
Hello, everybody. David Herring. My question is, what chapter is it actually going to? Is it going to the national chapter or the Walton County chapter?
A Walton County FFA chapter will be created as an umbrella of which others would fall under, but it will essentially be one master chapter of Walton County.
Okay, what happens if Walton County chapter fails or cease to exist? Does it go to the state level at that point?
we would have first right of refusal of what to do to either get our monies back or take the collection is how I would foresee writing the agreement. Now, there's obviously going to be, that's what we're going to have to talk to them about. As of right now, the actual not-for-profit entity is, based on the Florida SunBiz filings, is not just an FFA, it's the Walton County FFA Tractor Museum is the actual entity. So I think those would be other questions, or do they intend to donate them to an FFA chapter, or do they tend to contract with an FFA chapter to operate the museum? Those are questions that we're going to need to hear at the TDC level to figure out how we actually have this open to the public. That is, from my concern here, is the compliance with this being a not-for-profit that keeps this open for the public. That's what's got to happen.
Okay, because that's my concern, is Walton County at the forefront to make sure all the advertisement goes out for Walton County agriculture. As you all know, we're a dying breed. It's hard to get kids to come out work on the farm, to get a 16-year-old to come out and hire them as an employee, for in the evenings or during the summer break. So I think the big thing is trying to get that to Walton County, where people know in the north end of the county we're still promoting agriculture within this county, not just the beaches. So that's just kind of my input on it. Is that's what I want to see, the growth back to the county, what we can preserve and what we can save in this county. And I think the school district is who the commission and the administrator really needs to focus on, is to make sure that the school district has those teachers and that promotion within the school district. Is what I really need everybody to understand, that the growth comes from our youth. I mean, we can stand up here as adults and promote it, but those kids have to want to do it, and then we have to have the right teachers in place, which we do in some of the categories, in place to be able to promote that tool and to get those kids there to volunteer to make this a great thing for the county. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Chair, I just have one more. I'm sorry, one question, because of the motion changed. So can we come back, so we're motioning for ownership, but we can't come back for, to renegotiate or re-up the agreement? So it's done and said, we want ownership for $600,000.
That's what you would be approving, and that's what staff will be drafting in its agreements.
May I make a substitute motion?
That's not what they want.
All I can tell you is staff will do exactly what this board directs us to do. If the board wants it to include ownership.
I'd like to make a substitute motion just to allocate it this time and then come back with the agreement, so then we can all look at the agreement.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I agree with coming back with an agreement.
Well, that's going to happen anyways.
Correct.
Clay articulated the process. What we're doing is we're allocating $600,000 today with retention of ownership, and all of the articulations will be spelled out before the funds are ever spent.
Now, I just want to take out that ownership caveat. That's my motion.
The reason I put that in there is because I didn't think we were going to get 3 votes without it. And so, I mean, I'm trying to get the tractors.
Well, you got 2 right now.
Commissioner Anderson?
Listen, I'm not so much worried about the ownership, because if it doesn't work, it's going back. But what bothers me is we're putting in $600,000, and we don't know if you're going to be able to raise the money.
And that's why the money won't leave us until they show us they have it.
And that's what I like to.
As long as we have, I think the ones of us up here that have concern is, we put out $600,000, we need to have at least, I don't want to say control, because we don't want control of the tractor museum. I am talking in the mic. I can't help it if it's not working.
Working now.
Yeah, when I scream, it is.
All right, let's, Commissioner Anderson, go ahead.
But I think we just want to have some, and Clay, maybe you can.
Security is what we're looking for, and that's what the agreement would be.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
With the substitute?
I'm okay with what I just said.
Which I think,
Can we get?
Clay, does that fall in line with the substitute motion or no?
Well, we don't have a second. It is
Well,
consistent with your
she has a
motion, but we
second.
don't actually, we need to, I'll defer to the chair. Did you get a second on that motion, Mr. Chair?
Donna did.
I know she said she was supported what he was saying, but I don't know if we actually got the formal second.
Yeah, but I'd like somebody to read the motion again. But before that, Alicia, it's Alicia, right? Would you mind, I would just like to get some clarification from you, because there's a lot that has to happen in order for these tractors to be utilized in the manner that we're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that you are going to be able to make all of that happen with the building and everything that it's going to take, the maintenance and the?
We have had a considerable number of supporters that have verbally committed to us that we are just looking for somebody to be the engine on the train. Like, I'm not at liberty to discuss those people yet, of course, but we are confident, those of us that have been involved from the get-go, which I've only been involved a little over a year, but we are very confident that we can make it happen. And I completely agree that, making conditions on us as an organization is totally feasible, and I think it's the right safety thing for you guys to do. So I have the utmost confidence that if we can get the engine on the train, that all the carts will come along and the caboose. And we've already done a lot of foundational groundwork. We've had some in-kind services to begin the plans and so forth for the Ag Center. So there's already been some motion going in that direction. And it's if you will build it, they will come, is kind of where we are right now. And if you guys can just trust us just enough, I think that you will be very, very pleasantly surprised at what happens.
Do you think that would be something better than a rodeo?
I think that this facility has the potential to be able to do all sorts of things. I think that truthfully, with the amount of property that's there and the availability of it and its position on Highway 90, like almost exactly between Mossy Head and here, leaves it in a great position to be able to accommodate a lot of different types of activities. We definitely are not going to be successful long-term doing one thing. It is going to have to be a multi-purpose facility that does a lot of different things, with agriculture being the center of it, and obviously incorporating children and other leaders. And there are a lot of individuals in this county that are definitely, you just saw Summer, there are all of the local agritourism nurseries and farms that are here, they're behind us. So they are ready to link arms with us and get things moving. So I really feel like you're on the right track. Just have a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust and put your measures in place. And I think you'll be pleasantly pleased with the outcome, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner. So perhaps compromise position on what we bring back. Allocate the $600,000. That means you're not spending it. Direct staff to come back with a funding agreement, as well as the budget amendment, which can't forget that. That's the critical part. That being said, direct us to negotiate as part of that funding agreement that if they are unable to come up with the private dollars to secure the tractors, that this pledge and this funding agreement would act as a first right for us to step into their interest if we want to acquire the entire thing outright. And then you get to decide whether you spend the money or not, where the money comes from or otherwise. If they can't do it, you own them outright. If they can and they show you they actually come up with it, that's fine. Alternatively, you could always come back in and spend it. But right now, I think until we actually put that into place, it's difficult, because I'm not sure that there's even a point of saying we can or can't own them, because there's not another $900,000 laying around that we're offering or anybody else is that we know, and they can't disclose who's coming to the table. So that's my compromise pitch, to at least bring you back an agreement.
Commissioner Gladwell?
With Commissioner Anderson's acquiescence, I'll change the motion to reflect that they'll bring us back an agreement. Is that fine with you?
I'll second that.
Okay.
And I'll withdraw my substitute motion.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Show passes 5-0.
I'll bring something back consistent with what I just discussed. Thank you.
All right, tab 26.
Hey, good afternoon again. I do have a request to approve the purchase of a Mohawk lift. This is a vehicle lift for beach operations in the amount not to exceed $26,162.
We have a motion.
Motion approved.
Moved by Commissioner Gladwell, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Is there any discussion, questions? Anyone from the audience? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Thank you.
So it passes 5-0. Let's take a little break. We'll come back. All right, let's move to tab 27. Mr. Atkinson.
Second.
So we show that done without objection.
Thank you. We are in public hearing, Mr. Chair. With regard to this item, this is a request to consider an ordinance of Walton County, Florida, amending the Walton County Code of Ordinances to provide for regulation of the use of e-bikes, or electric bicycles if you prefer, and e-motos, which is a new class, providing for conflicts and severability and providing for an effective date. We have been unable for many years to effectively regulate electric bicycles in the state of Florida. The reason for that is the state statute has consistently said that an e-bike is a bike, and therefore anywhere a bicycle is allowed, an e-bicycle is also allowed. In 2025, the legislature gave us our first opportunity by including language that this section does not prevent a local government using its authorities under Home Rule from adopting an ordinance that governs the operation of electric bicycles on streets, highways, sidewalk areas under or within the local government's jurisdiction, or to prevent us from exercising control over a bicycle path, multi-use path, or trail network that we have control over, and restricting or prohibiting the operation of those on those areas. So what I have done for you is I prepared an ordinance. I will tell you it is not as robust as the one we intended to present as recently as last week. There is a new bill, it was House Bill 243, I believe, and it's Senate Bill 382, I'm certain of, that was adopted by the Florida legislature this year. It has not been signed by the governor yet. Don't have any reason to believe it's not going to be signed, but that actually adds additional regulations into e-bikes, specifically dealing with e-bikes approaching pedestrians, requiring them to have horns or sound-making devices, and requiring that all e-bikes have to slow to 10 miles an hour or less whenever they're within 50 feet of a pedestrian. So, and there's some other language in that too. We pared it back because we wanted to be consistent with that, but that would go into effect July 1. We can always come back and do that. I will cover the high points of this ordinance, and so what we have done here for you is, first and foremost, there's a difference between a multi-use path, bike path, shared use path or trail, and a sidewalk. I think we all understand that. Because of that, what we have done is we've made a complete prohibition against any e-bike from operating on a sidewalk. If it is a sidewalk, you let the people be on there. They have a right to be on the road already. But now a bike path. We put language in there that Class 1 are allowed on all bike paths, shared use paths, bike lanes, streets, highways, roadways, and shoulders. Class 2, similarly, can be on any of those. Class 3, however, cannot be on our shared use paths or on our trails. And so what we have done is we have eliminated the highest risk areas from the high-speed vehicles, the e-motos, so to speak. And then we've given the county traffic engineer the ability to restrict Class 1 and 2 bikes on certain shared use paths when it is deemed necessary for safety. Maybe we're doing work, maybe it's an area where it's narrowed, or they feel there is a reason there. But again, Class 3 is always prohibited. We've similarly created those restrictions on county trails. We have set a minimum age of operation at the age of 14. I'm open to the board if y'all want to discuss a different age of operation on these. And included a requirement that all persons operating electric bikes on a county facility are required to display an identification card, a valid identification card, if requested. That doesn't mean they have to have a driver's license. They do for Class 3 vehicles, of course. And then we allow it. This would be fined and punishable by going before the magistrate if that's what happens, just like you do with parking. But ultimately, all the definitions pull and track straight with state statute. We've reserved sections where we can come back and add additional language about approaching pedestrians. We have not included, based on my conversations with the board, a complete requirement that everybody who operates one has to wear a helmet. Certainly some jurisdictions do that. Some jurisdictions require it within a certain age range. In this case, your age range will be 14 to 16 because at 16, they fall outside of the requirement anyway at that point is the way it has worked historically. But this is for your consideration. It is available to be adopted. The passage of that bill and signing into law by the governor or the governor's veto of that bill will not alter anything in this ordinance. That's why I presented you the scaled back version. We are looking for a motion to adopt, but if you wish to table it until we get that bill back and we can add some additional language, I'll be more than happy to table it. So it is to the board.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance. Moved by Commissioner Gladwell. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner John. Are there any questions, discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, you're recognized.
First of all, describe for the record what a 1 and 2 and 3 are.
Yes, sir. Class 1 means any electric bicycle that is equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when the bicycle reaches a speed of 20 miles an hour. I'm going to leave out the wattages because that's actually a very big point of contention, because high efficiency motors with wattages can meet the wattage requirement but exceed the speed limit we found. So I'm just going to call the speed limits out. And by the way, that's what I put in the ordinance because it's a simpler approach. Class 2 means an electric bike that is equipped with a motor that may be used exclusively to propel the bicycle, meaning you can just throttle only it, and ceases to provide that assistance when it reaches 20 miles an hour. So you can pedal that, you don't have to pedal that. Class 3, on the other hand, means any electric bicycle that's equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and can go up to 28 miles per hour. And of course, your e-motos are completely regulated outside of all this, your electric dirt bike, so to speak. That's a whole separate category statute. Anything above there, you have to have a driver's license, you have to have certain requirements. So what you're talking about is motor-propelled bicycles that can go up to 20 miles an hour, in the Class 3 case, the 28 miles an hour.
Chair. I've gotten a lot of emails lately about problems with the e-bikes. There's a lot of issues with it, a lot of people getting hurt, a lot of kids that are just driving by super fast, and the kids are really young. Sometimes they're as young as like 10 years old or even younger sometimes, and they're doing wheelies, and they're not very courteous always when there's some pedestrians walking on the sidewalk and things like that. So yesterday, I actually had a bunch of emails on this, and I've had them in the past, and I've also seen some reels where people have been hurt, where the bikes knock them down. I think there's also a case in, I think it's California, where the 14-year-old actually hit a elderly man, killed him, and his mother is being held, charged with that because he was 14 years old and what other circumstances surrounding that. But sometimes it's really scary to see these real young kids when they're going really fast. They don't stop at the stop signs. They're doing wheelies, and they're just kind of going a little bit wild. And I think it would be good to include at 14 to 16 years old that they would have to wear a helmet in addition to the fact that they have to have the ID and things like that. Because the other thing is what they're doing is they have a capability, some of them are raising the speed on these vehicles way beyond what they're built for. So instead of just going 23 or 27 miles, I've been told that some of the kids are getting them to go up to as much as like 60 or 70 miles an hour. And that's just really scary if you're walking or riding your bike and you've got somebody just blowing by you like that. And it's getting worse, not better. And so I think that, I know that the sheriff's office has been working on some things as well. There's stuff like the governor's coming out with information that, and the bill. And we've really got to step up. I think a lot of it is that they don't really know what they can do, because the difference between class 1, 2, and 3, a lot of people don't know what that difference is, even though it was just explained. A lot of people don't understand it, especially children. They don't really understand it. So I think we need to get in front of it and do a big kind of a marketing campaign, something like that, some sort of educational campaign through the sheriff's office to where the kids kind of know what they can and can't do, because it is becoming a big problem, not just here, all over the country and probably everywhere. But would anyone else be inclined to require that at 14 to 16, because they're so young, that they would be required to wear a helmet just for their own protection?
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it.
No.
Can we amend the motion to include that?
Yes.
I'll amend my motion.
I have a question.
I'll amend my second.
I'll have a question from Mr. Powell.
James Powell, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's proper for me to ask this question right here, but is it possible for the ordinance to restrict the rental of a certain class of bicycle on county facilities?
That's still preempted.
Got you. Okay.
It's about operation on the facilities that we can limit, so.
I've got a question for Mr. Powell. Mr. Powell, we're working on 393 North. There's been several accidents that I know with people riding bikes there. I want us to be careful about, and most people are riding e-bikes now. You know, people ride them to work and things like that. And I want to make sure that we have safety on 393 North. And we're just putting in a sidewalk. Is there going to be room on the road for bikes?
That's a good question, and to you it's a sidewalk because it's concrete.
Yeah.
But it's an 8-foot wide sidewalk, which could be a path.
Well, Mr. Powell, the way I've written this is in your discretion. If you designate that a shared use path, Class 1 and Class 2 are allowed on it.
I think we need to get with Stephen with planning and make sure that our definitions of sidewalks, paths, and multi-use trails are pretty tight, because that's going to come into question pretty soon.
Well, I mean,
I think 8 foot's more consistent with shared use based on what I've seen, and that's why I left it to your discretion in this, because you're going to be who is going to make that designation for the sheriff's officer code at the time.
yeah, and I don't want to we spent all this money on that 8-foot path, concrete path, but that is a very dangerous stretch of road there. And I don't want to put bicycles back on the road if we can even e-bikes, if we can put them on the path, because there's been several bikers killed there over the years.
And just know we can't stop them from riding if that's what they choose to, because bicyclists and e-bikes are allowed on the road itself, but this would be a way to at least give them both opportunities.
One other thing I'd like to mention is the perspective of somebody passing you on a bike when you're walking doing 10 miles an hour feels like they're doing 30 to the person that's walking. That's going to be real difficult for us to try to, who's going to enforce that and how are they going to enforce that?
That's why it's not listed here yet, but that's what's coming in the state statute.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, because we have a hard enough time with our posted speed limits on local roads. You know, folks out there at their homes thinking people are doing 40 miles an hour and they're actually doing 27. You know, it's all about the perspective of the one that's affected.
Can we put speed limit signs on the bike path and the multi-use path?
On the multi-use path, I mean, there's some DOT standards that come into play, and there's some engineering standards I know that come into play that you're going to have to meet, and I just don't know what that would be.
I think we also need to talk about to the enforcement agency and what kind of resources they're going to have to enforce that. That's a whole nother level of complications for them, especially with the number of pedestrians and bicycles that we have on the paths. Many years ago, I can remember seeing a traffic count of pedestrians and bicycles at the intersection of 395 and 30A, where it was over 260 an hour. That's a lot of folks on the path.
And I would note that's what the state statute aimed to, rather than set a speed limit, require that 10 miles an hour or lower speed when coming to within 50 foot of pedestrians. And so while that's very fast, it's still a situation where you're not trying to run radar on these people as much as you're gauging how fast they're going. So, but that would be in the bill, so I'd ask us to defer that till after we see if that passes or not, because if it doesn't pass, we're going to have to dust off that much bigger discussion.
I would like to throw out there that there are a lot of people that ride these perfectly wonderfully, and they do a great job and they enjoy it. And so we're not talking about, the people that ride them properly. It's mostly, from my experience and from what I'm hearing, mostly the younger ones that may not know any better.
Clay, are you aware that it's clearly clear information as to when you approach a bicycle as to what class it is?
Well, right now, to be clear, everyone has to have an affixed decal that designates the classification. So if law enforcement inquires, they're able to look, see it right then. In terms of the state statute that is likely to be signed into law, they don't distinguish it by passing a person on a class 1, 2, or 3. It literally is all e-bikes. If you are on an electric bicycle and you come within 50 feet of another person as a pedestrian, you've got to slow down to 10 miles an hour. Doesn't matter whether it's 1, 2, or 3.
We've also talked about stamping the sidewalks that are not the 8 feet wide sidewalks that say no e-bikes allowed.
That is included in this ordinance, as you requested, to give the engineer the ability to do that.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
A lot of complaints, that's what it's going to be. Thank y'all.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, right?
Yeah, I was trying to look something up on the internet. Go ahead.
Thanks again. Quick question, just for clarity, you mentioned at the very end about an 8-foot wide sidewalk, and I remember, Clay, at the beginning, you mentioned the difference between a path and a sidewalk. Can I get some clarity on that?
I'd have to pull up the Land Development Code, how they define it, but the typical differences, there's not a magic legal definition. It is how the county designates that. The biggest differences are usually in location to a roadway, whether they're spaced off the roadway in the width. A wider pathway is usually what is indicative of allowing multi-forms of travel on that path. And so in this situation, in an area like 393, where we have a slightly wider than average sidewalk, that's not your average 3 to 4 foot sidewalk, then that's the situation Mr. Powell designated. That's a shared use path and limit operation. It may well be that his position is that class 1 bicycles should be allowed on that, but not class 2, or should be eliminated. We wouldn't ever put class 3 there, obviously, given their excessive speed and what that could do.
Well, I guess
so it's really just what is the nature of the path and what does the county wish it to be used for?
Well,
you have that authority.
Specifically then, I mentioned earlier how we're on the bike up and down 38 at Grayton Beach. What is that then? Is that a sidewalk? Is that a path? Are bikes still allowed on that?
The Trail is a multi-use shared path.
Okay.
It is not a sidewalk.
So e-bikes are still, that's not at jeopardy of losing e-bikes?
Except for class 3. You will not be allowed to run class 3 based on this, but you would be able to run it you would be able to run class 1 or 2.
Okay, all right, thank you.
My preference, I mean, respectfully, Commissioner Johns, I like the ordinance as written based on, the 4 core pillars of conservative government is less government, less taxation, more personal freedom, and more parental control. And Benjamin Franklin articulated the liberty argument. Adults should have the right to accept personal risks, especially on a vehicle inherently chosen for thrill and freedom. I mean, I think that the requirement is more restrictive and it's more involvement of government. I think that the parents should make that decision. If a child is 16 and they're here on vacation and they want to use an e-bike or rent an e-bike, or now they're going to have to be required to wear a helmet, my preference is always to put that power into the hands of the parent. I may be outnumbered here, but I like the less government model.
Well, I was just doing it for safety purposes, just 14 to 16 years old, because a lot of them, there's been a lot of accidents and they've been a lot of head injuries and things like that. And, it's just for that young age, not for, the older ones.
I get it, but is that the decision of government, or is that the decision of the individual?
We didn't amend the.
I think we were just adding the helmets, weren't we?
Yeah, that's all.
I don't think we did that.
No, I believe you did. I believe she asked and you said you would, and the second was amended, so. That is the amended motion as of now.
I mean, you can't, if, let's say, if that was your personal belief, it's like, okay, I'm not going to let my child go ride a bike without a helmet. You got to make that decision, but now we're making that decision for them, and I'm not comfortable with that.
We're not talking just regular bicycles, we're talking e-bikes. And
Or, I mean, even a,
kids go pretty fast on those.
right, but even a motorcycle, I mean,
Well, those are adults.
I understand. I mean,
On a motorcycle.
But there is
It's
an
already a
opt-out. There is a provision in there that if you agree to carry insurance, am I right, Clay?
That's what I understood it. But I didn't research as part of this, so I'm going off the top of my head there.
I mean, I'm all about putting in place the e-bike safety provisions. I just thought that part, why don't we leave that up to the parent?
Clay, is that going to be in the governor's bill, do you know?
It is not part of the governor's bill, but since we are likely to be bringing changes back to look at it, if you would like us to kind of give you a survey of Florida jurisdictions requiring helmets or not on e-bikes, I did a little bit of that research. I just don't have it prepared in table form for you, but I can definitely bring that back after that bill passes or not with the rest of the changes, because there were a number of other things that we would have included in this if that bill had been signed.
We could just go ahead and pass this as written, and then we'll make the changes later if necessary.
That's right.
Okay.
I'll change the motion back to as written, and we'll look at it then.
So a motion by Commissioner Gladwell, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johns. Anyone in the public? Tabitha
Hey,
Howard?
Tabitha Howard. Yes, I was wanting to let you know that this is a topic that's been discussed at several of the SOA meetings, and because we've had an issue in Sandestin, and some of the parents there, they were going to enforce one rule, but it looked as if the only people that were going to be punished were actually the kids that lived there if they, by not being able to do certain things, because if one of the childs were going to be in trouble, because lots of people, they come with their e-bikes and they don't know what the rules are, but the people that actually live there, they know what the rules are, but the things that they were going to implement were actually going to affect the kids that lived there and not really the people that were vacationing, because they're still going to do whatever they're going to do because they're here for 1 week and they're running around on these bikes going super fast, and it was going to cause conflict for the children that actually live here that are full-time residents that use those bikes to go babysit and things. And you're right, it is an issue, but I don't know how you're going to implement all of these rules, and it is a parenting issue with a lot of this. So, but it's a huge topic in Sandestin as well, and there are lots of people getting harmed. So I don't know what you're going to do, but.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to set up some rules, and whatever we decide on, we'll decide on together. But I think we're a little premature until the bill passes. And
That's what I said at the outset. This is the board's call. I have presented you a stripped-down version that you can go ahead and adopt to have something in place today. If you want to wait, I'm fine tabling it, Commissioners. That is your call, but I told you I'd have it back to you. I advertised it. That's why it's here.
Would it hurt to wait until that? I mean, are we in that much of a hurry to wait and see what the state says? Or, I mean, I'm
If
game
it's
either
signed,
way.
it goes into effect July 1, so you're effectively talking about just over 45 days. It's your call.
But the bill will be passed before.
Well, the bill is passed. We just have to wait for the governor to sign it. It'll go into effect July 1. As soon as we get the governor's answer, we'll either bring something back looking at how that interplays with our ordinance, or if it doesn't pass, there's some additional things we may do under the ordinance that would now not be in conflict with that statute. So it's a push-pull between the two.
But if we don't do something today, we would have to re-advertise another public hearing, and now you're.
But we are going to have to, all it's going to cost you is the one re-advertisement. That is the only thing it will cost you to not do it today. But I will say this, if you want to make changes later, as Commissioner Johns just discussed, you're going to re-advertise then anyway. So it seems like we got another advertisement coming one way or the other.
If we pass it today, we have something to use as guidance. And then if we want to make it more restrictive, we can, or if we want to keep it as is, we can, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm game with that.
You've got more.
Sorry, can I just make one request? I'm actually in the e-bike business.
What's your name?
Jason Medina. I've been in the e-bike business for 10 years, had the first electric bike shop. I have friends with bike shops all over the country, and I hear about all these rules all the time and regulations. All this class 1, class 2, class 3, all these e-motos, all this kind of, the easiest solution for a lot of this is just set speed limits. It doesn't matter how powerful the bike is or what the bike does. Set a path on the bike path no more than 15 miles an hour. That would fix 90% of these problems without all this jurisdiction, all these problems.
That's conservative government,
It's just
and I like
an easy
that.
solution, and it doesn't matter what kind of bike you have or what kind of bike you ride. It's just an easiest solution for all of us, because that would keep speeds down, all those kind of things.
You don't need an ordinance for that. That's up to your engineers and people to take care
Medina,
of.
M-E-D-I-N-A. Thank you for your time.
But the question then lies in who's going to enforce it.
We're always going to have that question.
Who's holding the radar gun?
Madam Clerk,
Who's
Lisa
buying the
Vega.
radar gun?
Lisa Vega, V-E-I-G-A. I think there's going to be a lot of work to be done with Chance and planning. Chance would know the answer, but I think the bike path on the south side of 98 in front of Grand Boulevard is not 8 feet wide, and that's a sidewalk. If I'm on an e-bike in Defuniak right now on the sidewalk, it wouldn't be allowed. So I think there's a lot of work that would have to be looked at on that. We also have to take a look at all the rental bikes. They don't even have lights on the front of them, and it's a state statute because it's in the rental agreement that they're going to take accountability. So all these e-bikes that are being rented on the south side, it's a nightmare. Forget the moto bikes. I mean, just the rental e-bikes are a problem, and they're not going to have lights on them. We could have an ordinance, but those rentals are not going to have a light on them. They don't now, and they're supposed to. So I think we need to take a lot of that into consideration on the bicycles, which sidewalks are allowed that are not 8 feet wide, and really, really sit down and look at this, or we're going to have a problem.
My position has been swayed and has been influenced by the public that maybe to take a more delayed approach in how we put this together, because I don't want to put together a bad law and then have that going as long as we're not in violation of preemptive the statutory provisions that preempt our decision-making. I want to be methodical. I want to get it right when we put it out there. So I would now be in favor of waiting. Would you say it was 45 days?
Ballpark. How about we just do this?
I'd like to have stakeholders at the table. I'd like to have residents who are affected by e-bikes. I'd like to have people that are involved in the e-bike industry. I would like to have people that are able to provide input on both sides to be able to put together, because we are creating a regulatory structure, and it's terrible to just to regulate just to regulate. So I want to get it right.
Then let me suggest this, Mr. Chair, in light of that, perhaps we go to, because I think ultimately, and to Ms. Vega's comment, no, this wouldn't affect anything in Defuniak because it only affects the unincorporated areas of the county. Why don't we look at doing this? It looks like your July South End meeting is on the 21st, so it's the third Tuesday, correct? It got moved up, I think. Anybody else have that, admin? Melissa, one of y'all? Somebody confirm for me. It's on my calendar for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. I need a date certain to do this. I'm showing July 21st. Yes. All right, so that will be after the 1st of July when the bill is effective. If the board would be so willing to continue the ordinance to July 21st, 2026 at the South Walton Annex at 1 p.m., that will keep us from re-advertising and direct code and engineering to schedule a public workshop between now and then with those community stakeholders. You're going to find out what the governor did. You're going to find out what's in law, and you're going to have, at that point in time, plenty of time to have at least one workshop, and for us to be able to get back in those first couple weeks of July to each of the 5 of you about what we found out.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gladwell?
I would change my motion to a motion to continue this to July the 21st at 1 p.m.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner
I'd like-
Gladwell, second by Commissioner Curry. Commissioner
I'd like to say
Johns?
something
Sure.
about that. I've actually had meetings with the sheriff's office and Russell Hughes about this probably a year ago. We have been trying to get something done for a long time. And as I said, I've gotten a lot of emails just within the last couple of days, and that doesn't include the ones prior to that. It's a problem. It needs to be addressed, and I don't like kicking it down that can down the road. We've got to do something, even if it's what this gentleman said, even if it's just to make the speed limit 15 miles an hour, we've got to do something.
We can do that without an ordinance, can't we?
Yes.
And how do we do
Would
that?
that suffice for now?
No, that's between the county administrator and county engineer. They're going to need to come address that with you on the placement of those speed limits, if that's what the board addresses. But that's not actually on the agenda, so I can't let you vote on that. I'm sorry. I do have to, and by the way, we are in a public hearing, so I have to keep us within that public hearing. So I need action on the motion one way or the other. But if you want to give, after we finish the public hearing, if you would like to give direction to staff to address placing a speed limit on the bike path alongside 30A, I'd be more than happy to entertain it outside of the public hearing.
How do you feel about that?
It's better than nothing.
Okay.
So we've got a motion to continue to a date certain, and please make part of the motion is the South Walton Annex. So we have to have date, time, location.
South Walton Annex, July 21st,
1 p.m.
Well,
1 p.m.
are we talking about waiting till then to do the speed limit?
No, that's the ordinance. I can't talk about the speed limit in
Okay,
the public
till you get out
hearing.
of-
That's the problem. I've got to get you out of the public hearing before I can help you with that.
Ms. Moreno? Anyone else after Ms. Moreno?
I understand the motion is to continue, and I thank you for that. But before we have that meeting in July, I invite you to go down to 30A in your car and look at what is really happening on that bike path. You have children ages from 2 to 4 on their little bikes. You have older people trying to hold hands as a couple, and they can't. You have maybe people who have other issues. It is amazing what you will see on that bike path. So definitely, I agree with the gentleman. You need some kind of speed limit for sure. But this is not just this is a multi-use path. And I'm telling you, it goes from ages with parents pushing babies in buggies to older people just getting through with hip operations. I mean, this is a very used path, and I'm just asking you, if you haven't seen who is really on it, you need to do that before July. And the e-bikes are going at that highest speed that you could possibly think about. And I think at least having some signs. Brian has some types of bike repair on the bike path, and not as many as I would like, and I'm sure not as many as you would like. But at those stops, you can certainly have the speed limit there so people can stop even and take a break and fix their bike. I think your idea of having stakeholders at the table is extremely important before July. And I thank you for continuing this, and then definitely talk about the speed limit afterwards. So thank you.
Yeah, the goal is to make sure that, public safety is number one. So we want to make sure that we do have the safety element, but we want to
I agree.
try to protect individual liberties at the same time.
Yes, but I think the bike path or Timpucci Trail is probably the most used quote-unquote bike trail in Walton County. Defuniak, yes, and et cetera, but we've got to look at that bike trail. That's what's happened. It's a bike, that's what people's calling it. It's a bike trail now, not a walking trail. So thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. Show it continued with a vote of 5-0.
Close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close public hearing by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Gladwell. Show the public hearing closed without objection.
Now, if you want to ask to direct staff to identify a speed limit for the Tampucci Trail 38 bike path, if you will, we can certainly do that if that's the direction of the board.
I would like to do that.
Municipal code allows traffic engineer to set special traffic zones, so it's already covered in our municipal code. I'll let Josh Irvin and Chance Powell work together to identify where those signs should be placed.
Thank you. Yep. And thank you to the gentleman in the back that brought that up.
All right, tab 28, Commissioner Curry.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to, I know last year when the previous administrator, Mr. Sunday, I had asked for all the interlocals and all that stuff, and he gave me a thumb drive, and there's literally 75 to 100 agreements, interlocals, MOUs, MOAs, and as far as I know, the only two, and I could be wrong, the only two that were updated or did anything with was codes. Freeport has their own, or going to have their own codes, or has their own codes now. We don't do that. And I believe Public Works was updated because the agreement was possibly out of date. Is there any kind of information left behind from the previous administrator that kind of gets us?
Mr. Kellenberg, you will have an update?
Yes. So within the information provided to me, we have a spreadsheet of all the, what I believe to be all the MOAs, MOUs, other various forms of agreements. I've not had a chance to go through and read every one of them and understand what's updated. As this started to come about with your recent public records request, I've asked staff to go through, make sure our list is current. Let's get them all out. Let's see which ones are valid or in need of redoing or whatever.
You have an estimate timeline on what that would take?
Probably take us another 6 weeks, I think. But not sure what we're going to find, to be honest with you. We found some that don't have end dates. We've found some that we don't really are not applicable, and other ones that have been changed, and not exactly sure why they were changed, but it's a lot to read through. I'd be glad to provide all of you with the spreadsheets I have, and I'll keep you updated in individually while we go through it. But once Mr. Curry identified a few anomalies, I felt it worthy to go through and let's see what else we got in there. Let's clean it up.
That's all. I just wanted an update because I know there's an awful lot of them. I mean, I got a printout right now of all the PDFs, and I think there's still some that I don't have all the MOUs and MOAs that appear to be on here. And then you guys sent me a sheet to have some of them on there that you have looked at, but they don't match what I have. So I don't even know if there's a true list out there, to be honest with you.
So the clerk of court is the custodian of these records. It appears a few years ago, or maybe several years ago, there was this push to have one person in charge, and that apparently is clerk of court, where all official records are kept. One of the things I've asked for is let's keep a copy in admin that's up to date. So when questions come up, we can readily answer them, mainly with the goal of not having to answer any questions. Let's have a clean MOU, MOA list, and then we'll take custody. We'll take custody of all of them. We'll be the manager.
Okay.
I have the MOAs that I requested to a couple of years ago, so we can compare those with.
What was I got?
See.
Yeah. I just think a clear conscience on everything. And then, and I didn't know where Mr. Sunday dropped off at or where he was at in the process. So that's my fault for not bringing it back maybe sooner. Yeah. But I had happened to stumble over my file that I have with all of those that Mr. Sunday gave me. And I'm like, I started clicking on some of these and I'm like, we don't even have that anymore. Or why was that, where's the new one? It expired last year. So. That's all I had on that one, Chair.
28-1.
This, I would like to, if we could, I had talked to Melissa about it already. I've talked to Clay a little bit about it already. I would like to see if when we're doing our budget and getting I know we can't have a rollback rate right now because we don't know what's coming out, but I would like to look in that direction when we start doing the budget. Because it just seems like, even though we have been, and technically it is a tax decrease in the millage, it doesn't show on everybody's, bill when they pay taxes. We might lower the millage 0.00005, but, if houses and everything goes up 10%, is it really a decrease or is it an increase? So I would like to follow the guidelines of a rollback rate, if that would be possible when we start going through the budget. And if you could explain a little bit.
I think what the easiest thing to do, because we can't actually set the millage rate or even make those declarations today because we're not in a budget public hearing, but Melissa, perhaps if we just take that as direction to use the rollback rate as potentially one column of a budget approval. That way, when you get to your first workshop, you look at what that looks like. Would that be acceptable?
Well, that's fantastic.
We'll start there, and then we can talk about in detail what that looks like relative to the other rates once we actually know the numbers. It's easier to explain when you got it up here in front of you, dollar to dollar.
That's all I can ask
We'll be glad to do it.
That's all I got, Chair.
Commissioner Gladwell, 29.
Yes, we, at the last board meeting, we agreed to bring this back. And so I guess the first step would be Mr. Kellenberger or Mr. Adkisson, one or both, talk to us about the 95 houses or the 95 properties.
Very simple. There were summary judgment granted on 90-plus parcels of land. 3 of those appealed that decision because the matter was not final, because it was still on appeal at the time that the bill that repealed customary use went into effect. Those parcels that appealed on notice issues were entitled to relief from vacatur from the judgment and were vacated thereof. Now, all the others remain in effect, and those have been advertised consistently on the beach map. I know we met with a couple of commissioners to talk about ways to improve the accessibility of that through the Beach Finder app, the labeling of that, and we're working with the TDC to make that a little more clear. But that exists. We are in the process, and we will have at your South End meeting the resolution you asked for relative to the issues of Dune Allen specifically. It is my intention to draft that as a broader document that relates to public use and access. So I know that if that's one thing you're looking for, if we can generally take that as direction, we will bring you a resolution, and I can show it to you both ways at the same meeting. One that is a generalized statement about public use access down on our beaches, and then the other one would have any specific language about that specific area and referencing support for anybody who does own private property that allows the public to use those. So that's where we are as of right now, but those parcels are there. They've been labeled, they've been marked and identified for quite some time, but we agree there's some way we can clean that up at the TDC level on how they're promoting it to make sure the public sees it a little easier.
And so Commissioner Anderson wanted a resolution in support of customary use or public access, whatever you want to call it. So what you're saying is you can include that into the first ordinance.
And I'll bring it around and show you both a single draft. I mean, because what I'm encouraging you to do is make a broad statement that you support public use and public access on our beaches. Make it broader. Customary use is a legal theory. I think everybody's heard me say this to you're sick of hearing me say it. It is a legal theory. It is merely one part of public use of the beaches. And so let me bring to the back. I will come to each of you before your next board meeting to show you what that looks like. If you prefer it as 2 resolutions, we'll have 2 resolutions. If it can all be done in one, I think it can. I think it'll satisfy both issues based on me listening to your last meeting and then what I understand you're wanting to do here today.
Chair. I'm sorry.
Is that fine with everybody?
Yeah.
Commissioner Curry.
I just wonder, while we're on this topic, if you look on the beach access icons, those 95 parcels, and I didn't know, and I'm going to apologize to the board because I didn't think they were designated or even in the system. Number one, because you wouldn't see them unless you clicked on owner-managed private beach. Now, if you were out of town or even me as a local, I wouldn't click on that because of those 3 words, managed private beach. So if you guys just want to rent until they fix that, if you click on that box and then you go behind the definition of that, it will tell you about 20-foot landward of the wet dry line, and you can, lay your towel down, from 9 to 4, so on and so forth. So just to be clear, you can click on that icon and then it will show you and that's another thing, the colors are the same as the sand, so it's kind of hard to look, but those are on there. And some of them are by our regional beach accesses. You might have to skip one private property, but then you got 3 in a row that you can have CU on. So I would just urge you guys to go on that site. I hope we don't break it by me saying that now, but go on that site, click on that, and look at those spots in association with regional access, neighborhood access, state and county owned. So now you would add owner, managed beach, private beach. So thank you.
So if everybody's in agreement, I think we have a battle plan.
I have my direction.
Thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Clay, I have a question, just in general. Can any legislative or executive act unbind a public court settlement?
Not without the operation of some provision of law that is creating a retroactive application. So, I mean, broadly, once you enter into a settlement agreement, you have a binding contract. Can it undo a final judgment? Yes, but only if that final judgment is not final at the time the legislative change happens. Same way when a Supreme Court case is given retroactive application, it's what's called the pipeline rule. But once something is final and there's no further litigation pending, there's no further case pending, no, the legislature is not able to undo acts of court. That's part of the separation of the powers in 3 branches of the government. And then the right to contract in Florida law and Florida Constitution plainly sets forth that government cannot impair the rights and contract obligations of third parties.
Thank you. Commissioner Johns, tab 30.
Thank you. Yes, I know you probably think I've beat this horse a lot, but monster homes is still a problem. And that not only are they massive in South Walton, but somebody came up at one of our meetings recently and said that they're starting in Freeport as well. So I doubt that they're going to stop in Freeport. They'll probably end up making their way up here eventually. And the problem with monster homes is, number one, they're really commercial entities, because we have them down there that sleep 36 people, anywhere between 10, 20, 30, 36, even more people. And that is a problem. And it's a problem with their trash, it's a problem with parking, it's a problem with noise, it's a problem with safety. It's just a massive problem, and it has been for a while. So when I was wanting to bring this up again and kind of put a deadline on when we're going to actually make the change in the land development code, stumbled upon a May 13th of 2025 news article from the Northwest Florida Daily News, where we were talking about oversized short-term rental homes dubbed as monster houses by frustrated locals may soon face tighter regulations in South Walton. Well, that's over a year ago, and we haven't done it yet. So it goes on to say, in response to growing concerns about traffic, overcrowding, and the character of local neighborhoods, that the Walton County Planning Commission has advanced a proposal to restrict the construction of homes over 5,500 square feet in certain parts of South Walton. And that's what we've been wanting to do for quite some time, because what happened is, at one point in time, the number was a lot less than it is now, but for quite some time it's been 19 homes or less, don't come before the board at all, they go before the Planning Commission, and doesn't matter what size they are. So we have neighborhoods that have 6, 8 monster homes in the middle of a neighborhood, and they're not compatible, but they don't come before the board, so we don't see them. But we end up getting a lot of the issues and getting a lot of the heartache from people that live by them. And it's really just not fair. It's a commercial entity, and it should stay in a commercial location. So what I would like to propose is that it gets put in the land development code by a deadline. I would like to see it in there by the end of June of this year, if possible, because what's happened now is District 4 down there, we're pretty much maxed out. I think we've got 4 or 6 being built now, and I don't know that we have any room for any others, but District 5 probably does, and I know Freeport, you do. You've got room. I'm just saying, you want to nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem, and for Defuniak as well. You just want to nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. So if we can ask.
We're going to have, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, we're going to have the draft revision of the Monster House Ordinance. Mr. Schoen and I have now been able to meet with every commissioner and discuss that. We're going to have a draft version of that for your consideration at your very next meeting in May. We are holding that at the south end intentionally because that is where the primary focus is. We do understand that. And then we will talk about what we can do to adopt that would be compliant with 180 versus what we can't. And then we'll defer to the board's action. At that meeting, you can request for it to be advertised. Based on that, I'm not looking directly at the calendar, but it'll be either the first or second meeting in June. It can be adopted at that point. So if you'll let us bring it to you at the next meeting in May, we've had our final meeting with the commissioners, and so we're ready to bring that back. That was the board's prior instruction, was to make sure we met with all 5 commissioners before we were able to, and we had a couple of scheduling hiccups, but that is now being completed.
I think this will probably be brought up in all these roundtables that we're getting ready to have as well in each district. So
yes, sir.
If it doesn't get brought up, I'll be surprised.
Well, you'll hear about it at the last meeting this month.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all I've got.
Okay, sounds like we're moving in a better direction. Commissioner Anderson, anything? Chair has none. Public comments. Who all's planning to speak? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Who wants to go first? Randy, did you have something? I do. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Chair and Board. Lee Moore with Scenic Walton. And I just wanted to make a quick suggestion. There is a proposal for some entry signage into 30A at both ends of 30A in the draft TDC budget for the coming year. And I know at the last meeting, Commissioner Johns brought up about entry signage into the county in general, specifically Miramar Beach first, but for the whole county. And I've also had a suggestion from a resident recently about getting some identification signage that would be consistent for each neighborhood along 30A. So we just want to make a suggestion that as you go into design on any of these signs, that they all be considered together. It would be like a family of signs that they don't have to all look exactly alike, but that there's some continuity so that it speaks to the brand of Walton County, and when people see a sign, they all have a similar design so that it says, hey, this is Walton County, right? And it has some good brand value, and they're not just seeing a bunch of different things that look different from each other and don't have anything to do with each other. So that's just a suggestion. If the TDC proposed budget goes through, there will be some money for the design of those signs. So I think it might be pretty easy to just expand that to a family of signs that covers at least those welcome points. You don't have to include every sign in the county. That's a bunch of signs and a bunch of different types of signs, but those welcome signs to have a really good, consistent look about them. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Go ahead.
Randy Leitner, Lightner. Does anyone know about how much we collect each year from the garbage tax?
About $38 million is what
$38 million
this year.
And how much do we pay to waste management?
It's about 19, I think is what it's going to be this year.
Okay, and where does the rest of the money go?
Operation of the landfill, and then it actually funds about half of Public Works budget.
Okay, is there anything left over out of it that's not for garbage related?
Only when there are years where we take in more than was budgeted.
Okay, the reason I'm asking, these smaller nonprofits are now having to pay, and they got to have at least 2 cans just in case somebody comes in and has a big enough party that they need 2 trash cans. And that's $40 a month. That's almost $500 a year. Some of these places like, Red Bay, the Valley, Mossy Head Community Center, that's a lot, and they're going to have to raise their bill. So I'm just wondering if there's enough left for the county to remove that burden from the smaller ones, not places like the Matrix and Caring Sharing that have obviously a lot of trash, But these small churches and small community centers, this should have never happened, and really shame on Waste Management. Or I would encourage you, when it's time to renew that contract, let's find somebody else. But in the meantime, just if there's any way, if there's any left over, it would be nice for the county to assist with that and maybe take over that burden for them.
Commissioner Gladwell?
Mr. Kellenberger, would you be willing to work with Ms. Thomason? Y'all come up, because y'all come up with a price that it would cost for the county to alleviate some of these things. I know I saw that Mossy Head Community Center is now going to have to pay the bill, and they're already struggling, and so it's really no purpose for them to have to pay. We could take that burden off of them, and maybe, I mean, I agree, the smaller not-for-profits. So could we do that?
Let us work on something. We always have to be careful with church and state and the
That's why I was
separation
careful
issues.
about not saying church.
So I know that's
if you
always
can't
what
do that,
comes up,
that's
but give us a
understandable.
chance to bring something back, and we can bring something back to you.
I would appreciate it.
We're going to include Mr. McKee as well.
Well, yeah, I would never want to cut Billy out of the fun.
And I didn't care too much about the garbage contract as long as my garbage was still picked up on Wednesday. But I don't like a lot of the stuff Waste Management has done. I'd love to see a change in that as soon as, when are we able to? We just reviewed last year for 5. I thought it was for 5. Someone else said a year. Okay, thank you.
Who's next? Anyone else behind Mr. Howard?
John Howard, Freeport. As far as the houses, people keep on talking about the size as far as the square footage. Get away from that. Let's talk about the people. There's some of those houses that house 50 people or more. If you regulate anything over 25 as a commercial property, demand a minimum of 4 parking places and adequate garbage and these things, this is going to be taken care of. If somebody has 2 people and they want to build a 100,000 square foot house and there's 2 people living in it, great, but we should be able to regulate that. And the second one I'd like to bring up, when I first moved here, there was a 50-foot limitation on building height. And then somehow Matt Carpenter came in and said, well, that doesn't count the roof. And all of a sudden the roof went from 10 feet to 15 feet to 18 feet. And you're seeing some of these with observation decks and everything else. If you want to come in and put it and say, well, 50 foot doesn't include the roof, let's make a limit of 10 foot on the roof, and that way at least you've got a little bit more control on these structures, and you're not having these monster structures that are housing a bunch of people with a bunch of parties and everything else. And that
I don't know about the rest of the Commissioner,
Yes, sir.
but that is exactly what I talked to Stephen about. So about the rooftop observation decks and the 40-foot. So I think that's actually going to be in one of our roundtable meet. Oh yeah, Brian was in there. So I mean, I think that
would be fantastic and solve a lot of problems and not talk about square footage, because you got all this stuff and they got 2 parking places. How are you going to handle 30, 40, 50 people with 2 parking places?
I'd love for you and anybody else listening to come to these meetings when they come to your district and do exactly what Mr. Howard's doing.
This is an old thing going back the early days. Eric Allen used to, they went up and down about the 50-foot regulation.
There is a requirement on the parking for those houses. It was going to be, I think, 900, per every 900 square feet, they had to have one, and it was changed.
Go the number of people. Let's get away from square footage. If you go to the number of people, then things might be easier to regulate. Thank you all.
Hello again, Mark Douglas. I just wanted to speak in support briefly of the signage.
You 1S or 2S, Douglas?
2 S's.
2 S's. Okay.
In support of the signage. I think that's a great idea. Every community along 30A and the rest of Walton County has a very unique personality. And I think the signage, a cohesive signage plan would actually look very nice for tourism, for locals. And I just wanted to speak in support of that. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Warren Whitaker, WHITAKER. When we're looking at the garbage contract, I would like for you to also remember your 2 volunteer fire departments, Liberty and Argyle as well, because when they come out and did the can change, they didn't leave us a can when I was with the Argyle Fire Department. And so they really having to take their garbage to the dump now. So that means that truck's out of service for a few minutes anyway. So please try to include your fire departments, your volunteer fire departments in that agreement with the nonprofits, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't they have one, Clay?
They should be.
Can we check into that and make sure they get one?
Billy, if you would, please reach out to Waste Management and ask if there's a reason why our volunteer fire departments in similar buildings aren't getting garbage cans.
Well, the reason was we were told we had to buy our cans, and then the cans we're using are not applicable to the truck they're using, Mr. Atkinson. So if we need,
Let's let
help.
Mr. McKee reach out, because I think we were pretty clear that any public service institution that was being involved, which included South Walton Fire District, mosquito control, they were supposed to do it. So there may just be a misunderstanding of what was being served.
I would appreciate.
See if you could reach out, please, Billy. Thank you.
You may.
I'm Vice President of the Mossy Head Community Center. My name is Carla Hunt. Our trash cans were picked up by Waste Management on Wednesday, and we were not notified at all. We received one free initially, and then we paid for the second one. And then they decided that we needed to pay monthly for it, and it's $300 a year per can. So that's $600 a year that we will be charged. And I want you to understand, they didn't even tell us, okay, which was our first frustration. And second of all, the fact that we paid for that can and they don't know where that money is now. They said they mailed it to us, and I talked to them today, and they said that they mailed it to 63 Stewart Circle. We don't have a mailbox there. And so I said, well, you need to go back and find it because we didn't receive it, and so we should receive that back if we have to pay. But I think it's ridiculous that a nonprofit is having to pay. We have 8 meetings for AA each month, and we don't charge for funerals. We barely charge anybody anything, and there's no way. I mean, there's no way. We're going to have to pull that out of our own pockets to pay for that, if that's the case. I just want to make that clear.
We're going to try to fix that.
Yeah.
And thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it that Randy brought it up, but, you know, I just want to clarify some of that. I talked to him today, and that was very frustrating. So
They took your cans?
yes, and didn't leave a note. I mean, if they had just taped up a note in our trash can area, we spent the weekend searching for trash cans. Okay, I'm not kidding. We were going through the neighborhood looking for our trash cans. We've got people on vacation we were calling and saying, did you stick them places? You know, I mean, that was part of the frustration of we paid for this can and you took it. You know, that was very frustrating.
They'll work on that.
Communication.
Yes.
Communication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Herring.
David Herring. Thank you, Commissioners. I want to thank y'all for line item 16 for the soliciting for the fire department well. That's something that our community has asked for several years through the process of this solar facility. The serving of it would be, I know it's a later time, but just want to get it on your minds. The service of that would be for all North Walton County. I mean, from where the location they're talking about, it's a 10-mile radius. That's a one-way, I'm sorry, not radius, but 10 miles for the truck to go to get water. When the sites were developed, a lot of the sites do not have drafting points for the firefighters to actually draft water from their ponds or holding wells as well. So that's a need for that facility as well. The big thing I want you to remember when everything's being drafted on this is we need the horse first. The cart can come later, and the stable can come later. We would like the opportunity for a well and what the fire department needs. I know how some entities can ask for the Taj Mahal. We're just asking for something to help us with fire suppression in that community and all of North Walton County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to just point out, though, that the well we're talking about building, they are building one in connection with the new fire department over at 2 and 83. So slowly but surely, we're getting water that's available for the fire departments.
That's great. We appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else behind this gentleman? You're the last one.
Mark Walker, Walker, about the well. And David just mentioned this would just be one piece and eventually get there. I also want y'all to remember there are people that live in that community who don't have homeowners insurance because the rate is so high they can't afford it. Therefore, if they have a total loss, they have no backup. And that's really my point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson moves we rise. Show that done without objection. We are adjourned.